I saw this dust ball on the marina, and I had this passion to go sailing one day, and I asked the captain, "May I step aboard?" And and then there was this old guy on the dock, and he was creating this wonderful interior in this boat, and he asked me, um, "What are my plans?" And I said to him, um, "I I want to buy something similar to this." And then he said to me, "What do you want to do with this?" I said, "Well, I want to go sail the oceans and circumnavigate the globe." And he said, "It ain't going to happen with this." Um, and uh, and then he asked me, um, "What are you going to do?" And I started elaborating on my newest acquisition of plans to build this catamaran to go around, to circumnavigate the globe. Um, and then he said to me, "But I need somebody like you on the engineering side, and I can definitely see that you need somebody like me on the sailing side, because I knew nothing about that, but engineering I can do." So that's how we met, and started this relationship.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. Um, Both of us knew that time is running out. We need to go sailing,
Yes.
and being a boat building background, put a couple of luxury yachts together, always for customers, but never really for the need of typically the old boys in the dock, as you refer to us. We're
Yes.
probably not all that young anymore, but yeah, we haven't finished up. We're not done with sailing yet. That's still going to happen. So,
Definitely not.
Chris, yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about what is the ideal size, what does a platform need to be, and how it's actually what do we need, and testing waters on both sides. You sort of checking what I know, I'm checking what you know, and I must have confess you, I was quite surprised that you find old dog on the dock that's so overqualified. And I hope likewise.
Yeah.
So that's what basically led to us becoming more formal, because it's not only us two that's got the problem. There is a lot of people that need to go sailing and simply don't have the platform to execute. And Onyx Marine is not going to do a whole range of boats. We're going to specialize. We're going to do a catamaran that's suited for blue water cruising in the tropics and just enjoy sailing. So that's our mission. Formalized everything. It is a company now, and the first boat's on the way.
Yes. And so that's how the dream started.
Yeah,
So we just have to feed this baby and bootstrap it up.
yeah, yeah.
We're confident.
All the equipment is in place already. The molds is happening. Some of the components is actually coming out of the molds in our little factory that we set up. And
Yeah.
watch the space. Very shortly, there will actually be a Onyx 10.5 in the water, and in both of our opinions, it serves the need to go blue water cruising
Definitely.
at a level that opens it up to a lot of people. Uh, so that's the vision of Onyx and
Yes. And also
creation.
at the right price point. So
Yeah, all these things feed into.
yes.
That's the only way it's going to happen.
Yes.
Dream Killers is everywhere in the world. You can go into any marina, and there's a promise. Each one of these vessels lying here has a promise, but it takes too much out of the owners to actually go sailing.
Yes.
So the whole philosophy on Onyx Marine is that it's not the promise; it's the reality.
Yes.
Your responsibility is to load your provisions and head for the next port. All the ports have got the same issues all over the world. There's always people that has got the boat, they just got to fix it, and that is a lifelong mission. You can't just fix a boat. These things deteriorate far quicker than what you can repair it. So
Yes.
your whole sailing is on the back burner, and we need to flip that around.
Yes, yes. And I'm very excited to do that with you.
Yeah, yeah. And as I say, it's happening already.
Yes.
Good team together, and it's happening.
Hello and welcome to the Good Interview. Today I am here at the Gordons Bay Yacht Club and I am fortunate enough to be talking to Francois from Onyx Marine. Francois, tell me, how did your love for sailing come about and how do you feel it has shaped your character and your perspective?
Yeah, look, like everything, you get hooked as a young lady and in a direction, and you go with it. I would imagine my father had a boatyard, and with my uncle, the two of them were always involved with yachts and so forth. And we were playing around. I think those days there was a little dab chick, and we managed to get ourselves a piece of canvas, and we managed to actually harness the wind and move this boat
Wow.
as a young lad. And I realized, sure, this is a lot of fun. We actually able to go somewhere, and we don't need fuel or anything. And it was just amazing. At those days, we played a lot at the Bluff Yacht Club when pelicans and everything was still abundant there before it all commercialized. So that was like our play park area. And obviously, in those days, when our parents saw interest, we get the correct equipment, and we got set up with proper sailing dinghies, and I would imagine the exploration idea of wanting to always go somewhere, and now I found a vehicle that you could harness the wind and go somewhere. So that's how I would imagine where it started.
All right.
Yeah. And answering your question, how did it shape the future? Right there, I realized this thing, with a little bit of provisioning, could actually sail to another country. So, as a young lad that didn't quite know which direction you find another country, I definitely saw the potential in this vehicle. And everything that you do was geared at going somewhere with it, not just going around in circles, but heading somewhere. Yeah, got us in a lot of trouble, but a lot of adventure as well.
I can imagine. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And what would you say have been some of your greatest highlights out at sea?
Yeah, obviously from there, one grows up and reality strikes, and you have to actually make a living, and family came along. And so sailing, we didn't really get into blue water cruising as young adults. It came much later in my life, but every free moment was spent dreaming about the ideal boat. In the early 80s, 90s, the new idea of new designs on boats started to surface. And in the early days, if you wanted to go somewhere, it was a boat with a lot of crew because the systems weren't there. To actually manage a yacht in the early 80s, late 70s, you needed a crew that's fit and young.
I can
and
imagine.
you needed to have good knowledge of navigation, and everything was scary. There was no communication. You set off sailing, and if you didn't manage to send a telegram from wherever your destination in the time, so you could be lost for potentially 2-3 weeks before someone actually know you're missing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So where did it go? So I dreamt through all those years of this blue water cruising that's in my future, and ran quite a successful company building generators, and obviously the spare money went into boats. And at the same time, the evolution of equipment, especially electronics, navigation, got to such an advanced state that single-handed sailing became a real viability. And that sort of opened a new avenue for me.
Okay.
And yeah, I did probably a couple of Atlantic crossings, Caribbean, Bermuda, and then over to the Med. We did that twice.
That's incredible.
We gone up the west coast of Africa, and a very smaller, the crew is not all that needed anymore because the systems, mainly the electronics, put you in a state. And then, so the highlights is actually pointing a boat to a foreign destination and the achievement of getting there, taking your family and everything with you. That was incredible. For me, opened up a whole new way forward. And I'd like to actually get more people to experience that freedom that you have. And it's more possible now than ever because of technology. You can now get updated weather reports mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
And in the old days, you had to really hone your skins to read the clouds and read the weather and read the sea life to see if you're going to get clubbed with a storm or not.
Yeah,
And 90% of the time you were wrong anyway. So you took your hiding. One of the first things in the early days you packed was a storm jib because you know you're going to need it. And today, if you get caught in a storm, you're really stupid and you haven't been online.
That's also fair, I suppose.
But it still happens. So I'm just trying to make the point that yacht design, yacht ownership, all that have changed so dramatically in the future. And I think the next huge thing, which will be a highlight in my life, is when the mechanical platform can actually support the electronic development. Because I see there's still a gap there. There's some awesome features in these new Marine, Garmin, all those guys have got features in there that you just leave dormant because there's no way you can actually connect it to the vessels on offer.
Interesting.
And
All right.
I think that'll be a major highlight if we can get all the systems to be supported by the mechanical platform so that sailing actually becomes more pleasurable. If you look at modern vehicles, cars on the road, for instance, there's an example of the electronics and the mechanical platform that integrated properly. So, there's things that happen in your motor car that you're not even aware of, and it adds to the safety and the pleasure of using it. And I believe that in the sailing fraternity, the builders haven't caught up to that mechanical electronic interface issue. So for me, after cruising a lot, because you get a lot of good ideas when you sit 20 days out at sea waiting to get to your destination. And
No doubt.
so a lot of this stuff gets formulated while you're busy sailing and say, "Gosh, this would be nice if we could actually use this plot as function." So, and then obviously the pleasure of just getting to a port that you'd never been before, and you get this camaraderie with cruising sailors. You instantly accepted in a family when you arrive anywhere. You don't know. I made good friends with a guy from Alaska, and we sailed sort of the same weather windows. So you become a flotilla, your new family, and this
That's
is
a beautiful
years
thing.
later, and we're still friends. So the friendship at sea, I think it's very special because you're all in foreign countries. You've got a lot in common. That's all special stuff. You need to experience it.
That's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I can only imagine how much that would increase your bond in general with these people that you meet. Because at the end of the day, as you say, right, it doesn't matter where you come from, where you're going, anything like that. Once you've done something like an ocean crossing, I can imagine, you already have that not only the experience, but it's almost like a silent respect that you have with one another.
Yeah, you're quite right there. And what is very encouraging is when you're in the blue water cruising world, you tend to get the more retirees going sailing, and then you find couples that is in their late 50s, early 60s, sailing, and as you meet them again and again in ports, their physical condition improves so much that they're becoming young again, and you see people jumping onto docks and stuff, which just a year ago they wouldn't even try. So I think it's a fresh air out at sea. The excitement of sailing and the fact that there's no one else that's going to help you. It's you responsible. So that is a great way to get yourself to get a little bit younger. Obviously, stay out of the sun because it burns you from the reflection on the ocean and the top. So that's the only negative. And we all discuss how do we get ourselves out of the sun. And again, boats need to have shade. Interesting demands that develop when you're actually cruising compared to what is on offer.
Okay. I can also imagine that it builds your sense of self-reliance. Your self-trust in a sense. Because you're put through all of these things that could happen at sea and do happen at sea. You kind of have to learn to trust your intuition a bit more as well, to a certain degree. I know, as you've mentioned, that we do have a lot more equipment nowadays.
Because as you say, when things go wrong at sea, it's you and your partner that's going to have to sort it out. There is a lot of internet help these days. Elon Musk has made it so easy now with the Starlink. So you can actually get hold of your supplier and he can talk you through what needs to be sorted out.
I did not know that. That's really
redundancy is a huge thing. All these electronics and stuff is very nice, but you need to be able to sail that boat, going back to basics. But most people that actually get on boats go onto a fast learning curve, and they becoming self-reliant very quickly. There's a couple of things you got to respect: is fresh water. While the desalinator runs, you can waste it. And you have to have your plans, and it's sort of this survival backpack you pack. I had a good friend, Keith, a British guy. The idea always was that you put some water in the bilges, in bottles, so that if there's an emergency, that you got water to see you through. And that's extra weight in a boat. And Keith decided, liquid's liquid, so he rather put wine bottles in the bilges instead of water. And that was an English approach, and it worked very well for him.
Okay.
So it's a lot of camaraderie. You make a lot of very good friends, and we support each other. So if something goes wrong, sometimes you even have radio communication. Mid-Atlantic, I managed to pick up conversation on VHF with a fellow yacht, and then you could discuss how to repair stuff and so forth.
Okay. So in your perspective, how has sailing changed up until now, and how do you foresee it carrying or evolving in the future? Specifically, what legacy do you hope to leave behind with Onyx Marine?
Sailing for me, how did it change? Basically, anyone from any background can actually enjoy sailing. And what I'm hoping to do is, together with Chris, also engineer and systems design, and that, to do the integration between the mechanical, electronic, hydraulics, to get that more into a package that people with maybe little disabilities can be quite confident to go and enjoy this whole sailing idea. So I'm hoping as Onyx Marine to put a platform out there that you don't have to be a rock star to go circumnavigation. You need to have a little sense of adventure. You need to know the platform is going to be safe. There's redundant systems. And what Onyx Marine is going to do is to integrate the mechanical, electric, electronic, hydraulic interface, that the thing actually works and creates a safety cocoon. End of the day, that is what you've got when you're out on the ocean, and all the systems there needs to be a lot of redundancy. And if you're confident on the vessel, then circumnavigation is not a problem. People that's quite elderly and a little bit even on the frail side must be able to enjoy, you know, their final adventure. And as I say, this is one of the only adventures where actually get younger, because you're forced to get fitter, and your mental state improves a lot. And my theory has got a lot to do with the clean air out at the ocean. Your mind clears, and you don't have the stresses. Things like bank cards, pretty useless when you're mid-Atlantic or mid-Pacific. You know, you simply can't.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so you know the whole. I'd say Onyx Marine needs to make this lifestyle available to people that didn't think they adventure blue water cruises, and that's our goal, is to create a perfect platform. Once the factory is running properly, you'll definitely find me out circumnavigating, and I would imagine Chris is going to fall into the same boat. Not literally, but the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I'd love to join you guys on that venture sometime too.
yeah, no, definitely. That's the way it works.
I am sitting here with Chris, Francois' partner at Onyx Marine. Chris, tell me, how has your love for the ocean evolved throughout the years, and what does sailing mean to you?
I grew up across the bay in Simonstown. My dad was a naval officer, and it's always been part of our lives. And as a young boy, we really enjoyed the ocean. It was always part of our entertainment, part of our life. So I think it's like it becomes part of you. It's in your blood. As a young man, we would sneak off through the dunes and spend days at the sea, hunting for oysters, and when they still existed on the on the old boiler in Glencairn. So it was always part of my life, and I was also fortunate in those days when we still had to do national service, when they called me up to the Navy, and I spent my 2 years in the Navy, and I had the privilege of being trained by Bertie Reed. At that time it was Warrant Officer Bertie Reed, and the sports parades, we used to take us out on the laser sailing, and that's where that sense of freedom came from, where you can actually harness the wind and actually sail faster than the wind. So yes, it was a passion, but it only really developed later in my life, where the actual cruising idea came about, and started to understand where that was a possibility to actually take your house and travel the world and see the world. So
a home away from home, then.
Yes, that is true.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So what would you say was the pivotal moment where you realized that this sailing is for me? This is what I want to do.
Well, I about 2 years ago, like Francois, my partner, says, the meter is running, and the digits are getting less and less, and there was a time I needed to look at the future. Where am I going to go, and what is it that I'm going to do? And I started surfing the internet, and then I came across this fraternity of people that does that, and it really resonated with me as being a possibility to actually travel the world without really breaking the bank. and you know, because our South African rands are not that strong, so if I had to go see the world, I would have maybe seen one or two really nice countries, and it would not have been possible, um, uh, uh, you know, to basically see everything that that I wanted, and this romanticism just came up where these people can travel the world. There's places you can go with a sailboat where you cannot even get with a commercial aeroplane. You can't. There's no other way to get there than actually with a sailboat. So that really resonated with me, and
Gives you access to more of the world.
yes,
Right?
and it's the wind is your petrol and your sails are the engine. So it really. Like I said, it resonated, and it actually became an option where it was very close to a reality, where you can actually, where I can actually make it happen, and so yeah, that's how that happened.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So, shifting gears here a bit, I want to hear about how did you get into engineering design, and how do you feel that experience has helped you to guide the vision for Onyx from an engineering perspective?
Yeah, I mean, when I got out of my national service, I mean, I needed, like we all do, I needed a job, and in those days, I was very fortunate, because there were still these big companies that would do in-house training, and I had an affinity for engineering. I didn't know exactly where it was going to take me, but I did have a very practical background, and I understood math for some reason.
For some reason.
And then I had the privilege to be trained by the old arms corps days in their system. The company was called Kentron, and they developed the missiles, and that is where the aeronautical background came from. And I went through the motions there, got my trade. They sent us to Technicon those days, and then into the training design office, and it took a lot of. They were very thorough in the way that they trained us. So for that I am eternally grateful. And then from there on, my career just stuck with design engineering, and with that as a background, the point of bringing the mechanical part of the boat as a platform together with electronics and controls, triggered something which was part of my career. I designed machines, and to be able to operate these machines, we had to develop not only the mechanical function of that, but also the control side, so that this thing actually becomes an intelligent production machine. And
yeah, isn't it beautiful how every experience in your life kind of is like a stepping stone, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you didn't necessarily imagine doing what you're doing now back in when you first started with the design, right?
No, definitely not. And it's actually quite fascinating how all of those experiences, through my career, I was involved in the Nutra-Pharma industry, where we built the world's first dual cavity capsule machine.
Oh wow!
From a robotics point of view. and sometimes I don't know if it's just I'm too big-headed or it's a adventure, but you must never tell me you can't do it, because then I will try.
I love that. I
where
love that. Yeah.
where the vice president of the Bosch group that builds their machines actually said to me, this is impossible, it's not possible to make. And with a small team of really committed people, we developed the world's first machine. And how this became a stepping stone for this next venture of building a boat. All of these things just actually now work together, because a boat has all those systems in it. And I spent some time in the marine industry developing dive support vessels, the SAT systems on them, and so a lot of exposure in the marine industry, and that marine industry experience again flows through into the boat building fraternity. So all of these stepping stones have actually prepared me for where I am today, without me consciously going doing it as a career, but happy to be here.
That's an amazing thing, yeah. So tell me, Chris, also I would like to know, what is your life philosophy?
Hey, that's my philosophy is actually, if I can give anybody advice, is live as if there's no tomorrow. Not that you shouldn't plan for tomorrow, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
And we have no guarantees for tomorrow. And by just yesterday is history, tomorrow is but a promise, and today is where you can make a difference.
I really like that one. Yeah.
So yes, and I believe that that has carried me through my career. Well, I wasn't this convinced a couple of years ago, but in the last couple of years I've actually had a lot more positive outlook, and it's amazing what you can achieve if you believe that you can. So have a can-do attitude and live as if there's no tomorrow.
Beautiful. Thank you.